I just found something that is in the middle of owning and renting, and it's actually worse than renting. So every time there's a little downturn in the market, somebody's talking about 40-year mortgages. Let me know in the comments below before we even jump into the video if you would ever consider taking out a 40-year mortgage. And before I give you my reasoning, um, let's jump into a video that I just saw and we'll talk about it on the other side.
For those who think they may not be able to buy a home in this economy, you might be able to afford one now.
We have to get a little creative here. Fox 26 reporter Sophia Lesios is here to tell us about the 40-year mortgage that's now being offered. That's right, 40 years. Sophia, a lot of people really feel that home ownership's out of reach.
Yeah, Monty and Liz, the idea is plain and simple. If you have a 40-year mortgage instead of a 30-year one, you would be saving hundreds of dollars on the monthly payment, making the dream just slightly a little more in reach.
Okay, so we just saw this video, and it is crazy that somebody's actually suggesting 40 years mortgages are still a thing. So they came up in, I think, the late 2000, 2008, somewhere around there. And so I ran some numbers and I was like, how great is a 40-year mortgage is? Because I feel like every time people talk about, oh, you got to own a house, and you lower the payment. So naturally what you can do is you can extend the loan term, right? You can say, hey, just like a car loan, oh, you can't make it in 72 months, so then we do 84 months, or you can't do 36, so we'll add it. So naturally with mortgages, you kind of can do the same thing. As I see this, I don't know the data, how many 40-year-old mortgages is, but I'm going to go home and check. And if I have something here, there's actual data on that. And if not, then I couldn't find the numbers on how many people actually pick 40-year-old mortgages. So I ran the numbers with AI on how much you actually save on a 40-year mortgage. So before I give you the numbers, drop another comment and tell me how much you actually think you save. I thought it was more than there is actually. So I got the numbers and they're right here. And the numbers are insane. I mean, you can't even say it. It is like $100 difference from a 40-year mortgage or a 30-year. So you extend the terms by 10 years and your payment goes down $100. That's literally insane. I mean, 10 years more and you basically have so much and you have such a longer term. So naturally, what comes with that is in a normal mortgage, in a 30-year mortgage, you have somewhere where your break-even point is. What do I mean by that? Is that the interest, you're paying more down the principal than the interest. And in a normal mortgage, it's somewhere around 12 to 15 years. And that's where you really start tackling. I think the sweet spot is right around 12, 13 years, where you actually really start tackling down the principal rather than the interest. So I have a graph right here, and like the sweet spot is in the middle where you start really actually taking on or tackling that principal, and everything else, interest is front loaded, right? So now with the 40-year mortgage, it's 25 to 30 years. So you, with your $100, you're basically prolonging it. You're basically prolonging that time by 10 years or somewhere like that. So for $100 a month, how crazy is that? Because you're not owning at that point, you're just renting from the bank. And I feel like as a banker, I'd love it. I would tell everybody, hey, just take out a 40-year mortgage because you make so much money on bloody interest that should actually be illegal. I just can't fathom that somebody would actually take out a 40-year mortgage because you're not going to own, because most people only stay in their houses like 8 years. $100 nowadays, maybe 4 years ago, $100 was some pretty good money. Nowadays, with 2024 inflation, all that, $100, that's a gas tank. That's like 2/4 of a gas tank. Sam's Club. If you fill up in California, I think if you have like a little bigger of a truck, it's one full. It's not even a gas tank. So I can't believe that shitty products like that are still out. And what I am though curious is, Why don't they push it more? Why don't they say you should take out more 40-year mortgages? Because as a banker, it would make absolute sense for you to sell more 40-year mortgages because you make more interest, and the chances is after 8 years that all these people um, haven't moved, and they haven't tackled any of the principal, so you still have the full amount left, and they just paid you money for basically just holding it for a few years. And I would take that any day. So if somebody wants a 40-year mortgage from me, drop it below. No, I'm just kidding. But uh, I can't believe that it's come to that where I see stuff like this. And this actually made the news. As you saw, that actually made the news. And with credit card interest and recession looming and all that, I don't know how 40-year-old mortgages are going to age, because there's another report out there that said that there's I think, what did they say? I don't know how many homeowners. I think like 10% of mortgages. Yeah, I did a video the other day that said 10% of mortgages are underwater. That is so much. So many home owners have zero equity in the bank. So it wiped out their down payment if they had one, and they're now upside down. And that is only valid until you try to sell and you can't get rid of it because you need to pay to get rid of it. And then we're looking at all these houses that's supposed to appreciate are starting to be like cars where you got to pay to get rid of them. So if you ever owned a car and you brought it to the dealership and you had to say, "Oh my gosh, I need to trade it in. I want something else." And then they're like, "Well, the car's worth 29 and your balance is 34, so we got to roll it into the next one." So there's probably going to be a program out there that you can actually roll in your negative equity into your new house, because maybe you have more luck with that one and it will appreciate more. So now, referencing to renting, is that in renting, at least you're not handing it all to the bank, and you have risk mitigation. What does that mean? That means that once you actually rent from a place, right? So you don't have to pony up $10,000 to fix the air conditioner. You don't need a new roof. You don't need to worry about the plumbing. You just need to have insurance, probably interior insurance. So you can, if something really breaks or goes wrong, you can get that fixed. But hey, if something else happens, you just move on. Oh, that's not my problem. If the air conditioner burns out, oh, that's not my problem. You just call them up. So when I lived I rented one unit in the United States, and I think the air compressor something burned out because it wasn't coming out cold. So you just let it run a little bit more, and then it was good again. And then all of a sudden it crapped out, and you called the office. They sent somebody over. They fixed it, and it was done. And then they said, "Oh, you got a new outdoor unit." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Didn't have to pay a dime for it." And there's probably at one point going to be clauses in your rental agreement that if the air conditioner or something breaks, you got to be responsible for something like it. Because as we're being more and more renters, then they can be more and more picky, right? And I don't know if there's laws. Let me know below if there's laws that prevent them from doing that. But yeah, they probably depend on state and all that. But there's probably stuff where they say, "Oh, you got to pay," and they'll try to force you to pay and not really take care of you as a tenant. But not how I do it. I try to take care of my tenants. They pay on time. They're really good people, and they take care of my property pretty decently. And that is a huge pro of actually knowing who you rent to. But 40-year mortgages, I give that a huge thumb down. I would say that stay away from that, because the break-even point is so far out in the future that your kids might not even see it, because it's so far in the future. You might move town, you might move state, you might even leave the United States before that mortgage is paid off. And that one in the news that I saw is actually even worse because that one adjusts after 10 years. So you probably had a good interest rate 4 years ago or something like it. And now all of a sudden, the 10-year mark's up and you had a low payment and now you didn't fix your rate. And now with these interest rates today, you got to redo it. Congratulations. You just played yourself. So 40-year mortgages, no go. Yeah, it's that if I would see people do that, I'd be like, take a paddle and whap them in the side of the head and say, stick with the 30-year and that's it. Would I do a 15-year though? I don't think I would do a 15-year mortgage. I'd rather get a bigger house, pay it off over 30 years, have it fixed, have it done, so there's no adjustable stuff. 15-year mortgage, like Dave Ramsey says, I don't know. I'm not opposed to it, I guess. If you want to get it paid off earlier, you can, but I don't, you can always have, so this is just my thinking. You can actually just make extra payments to your mortgage and actually pay down the balance early and just make extra payments and pay a 30-year mortgage off in 15 and make sure that you're not, that's allowed and whatnot. But I don't think any lender would say no if you make extra payments because they get their money, right? And they reinvest it or do something else with the money. But yeah, 15-year mortgages would not take one out. I would just take the 30-year and then make extra payments. And 5 to 7-year arms, I also wouldn't do those. Those are no bueno. Do the 30-year, do the conventional one, be done with it. And I have no idea about these FHA loans. You got to submit all these requirements, do all these things. Now I stick with conventional, be done with it. Make sure that it gets funded. Make sure you get a good lender and make sure it gets funded so you don't have to hassle of worry about scrambling last minute to find another lender that can lend on the property because the FHA, something they found wasn't great. So yeah, that's a little take on 40-year mortgages. Not the best thing in the world. Shitty product should be abandoned. So let me know what you think. See you in the next one.